Let's start by going over the options. If you hover your mouse cursor over the Hover Me option, you'll see some useful information, so be sure to check that out. Next, we have the sound effects section. SFX, or sound effects, audio clip determines which audio file will be played. Just drag the audio file you want played into this field. SFX volume determines how loud the sound effect will be during gameplay. If you had this option set at 1 and your sound effect still isn't loud enough, you'll need to edit the audio file itself. Now for the user prefs. Play on startup determines whether the sound effect will start playing as soon as the game starts. Looping has 3 options: none, standard, and dynamic. If you select none, then the sound effect will not repeat at all. It will play once and then that's it. If you select standard, the sound effect will repeat as soon as the sound effect ends. So as soon as it reaches the end of that sound file, it will play again and over and over and over. If you select dynamic, then the sound effect will repeat according to the min and max loop times. So one thing to keep in mind is that your audio won't repeat if it's currently playing. So if your audio is, let's say, 3 seconds long and you're repeating every 2 seconds, then what's going to happen is 2 seconds in, it's going to go to repeat, but it says, oh wait, it's already playing, let's try again in 2 more seconds. So when the song ends in, or when the audio ends in 3 seconds, you'll have 1 second of no sound. Alright, min loop time is the minimum amount of time the player will wait before trying to repeat your sound effect. The repeat time starts as soon as the sound effect is played, not when it ends. Max loop time is the maximum amount of time the player will wait before trying to repeat your sound effect. Again, the loop time starts, or loop, not loot, the loop time starts as soon as the sound effect is played, not when it ends. Fade in time determines how fast or slow your sound effect fades in. In other words, how long it takes to go from a volume of 0 to the volume you set in the sound effects section. Stopped fade out time determines how fast or slow your sound effect fades out when the sound effect is cut short, like when it's prematurely stopped. The sound effect player has no events. I'll go ahead and give you a somewhat simple demonstration. Let's pretend that we're in a house and we want to hear some bird sounds when we walk out of the house. We can easily do that with the sound effect player. I already have one in my scene, so let me drag a sound file into the audio clip field. I created some simple bird sounds just for this tutorial only, so you won't find this sound file in your directory. It's not part of the Smobs Starter Pack, so if you're looking for it, you won't find it. All I did though was whistle into my microphone like I imagine a bird would whistle. Since I can't whistle as high as a bird can, I used a audio editing program called Audacity to increase the pitch of the recording. Now, real bird sounds would be preferable, but for this tutorial, whistling is more than okay. Once I've located my sound file, I'll select the sound effect player in my hierarchy and then drag my sound file to the SFX audio clip field. I'll change the looping from none to standard, and I'll leave everything else at their default values. So let's make something to represent our house. I'll create a 3D cube and then scale it so that it's flat like a floor. I'll also position it so that it looks like it's sitting on the ground. Now if this wasn't a tutorial, I would not want it to go through my ground, but I'm not really going to worry about it for the tutorial. This cube will represent our house, or at least the floor of our house. As long as we're standing on the cube, we are inside the house, and when we step off the cube, we'll be outside the house. Now we need a way to detect when we are in the house and when we are outside the house. I'll use a detection area for that. The detection area can be found in the utilities folder. There are a few that we can choose from. I'll choose the one shaped like a box. I'll drop one into my scene and make sure that the box collider component is expanded. That way I can see what I'm scaling. I'll also make sure the manipulator handles are at the pivot point and not at the center. Next, I'll scale up the detection area so that it's the same size as our floor. Now we have a way of detecting when we enter the house and when we leave the house. With the detection area selected, I'll scroll down to the player events and I'll expand the player entered event and the player exited event. I'll drag the sound effect player to the player entered event and I'll tell it to stop the sound effect. Then I'll drag the sound effect player to the player exited event and tell it to play the sound effect. And that should be all we need to do. So let's go ahead and click the play button and test it out.